Mr. Chair and members, today I'm presenting Assembly Bill 1604, a bill that identifies reform processes that hinder upward mobility for people of color in the civil service system. This bill is identical to AB 105 from last year, which this committee supported. Members, as you may recall, the genesis of this bill is a consequence of a series of letters written and published in the Sacramento Bee last year on behalf of African American employees working at organizations such as the California Air Resources Board and our California prison system and the Office of State Publishing. The common theme of all of these stories is that there's a lack of upward mobility and inclusion in our civil service system. In 2020, this legislative body supported and Governor Newsom signed my bill AB 979, which requires each publicly held corporation whose principal executive offices are located in California to have minimum number of directors from underrepresented communities on its board of directors. This was a praiseworthy step for employees in the private sector. However, there are perpetual barriers to upward mobility that exist in our public sector civil service system. It is in this spirit that I put forward a number of civil service reforms that are reflected in AB 1604. For starters, AB 1604 calls for diversity on all state boards and commissions that have volunteers. Additionally, the bill requires that the State Personnel Board establish a process that includes diversity and best practices in each aspect of design, that announcements and administration of examinations for the establishment of employment lists. AB 1604 provides that the Department of Human Resources may, and underscore may, develop model upward mobility goals to include race, gender, and LGBTQ as factors to extent permissible under state and federal equal protection laws. This bill requires that Cal HR submit within its annual workforce analysis and census reports all of the adverse actions taken by departments against employees. It calls for the report to include the type of adverse action, ethnicity, gender, and sexual orientation, if available. The goal is to see if there are patterns of discrimination in the departments. AB 1604 calls for state agencies to collect and report demographic data using more nuanced categories of Californians of African descent, similar to the data collected for Californians of Asian descent. This data is critical to accurately reporting who among California's African American descent or African descent is experiencing barriers to upward mobility. This legislative body supported and Governor Newsom signed AB 3121, authored by former Assemblymember Dr. Shirley Weber, establishing the task force to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans. AB 1604 gives the task force more accurate data to utilize in its deliberations. With me today to testify in support of AB 1604, Emmanuel Amafor, co-founder, director of Outreach Coalition of Black Employees, and Chris Loxton with the California Coalition for a Just and Equitable California. And with that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Primary witnesses in support.
Good morning, Assembly members. Thank you for the chance to speak and urge your support for AB 1604, the Upward Mobility Act, or UMA 2022. My name is Chris Larson, as mentioned, with the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California. I'm a California resident and an African American who descends from persons enslaved in these United States. As such, I live with the current impacts of that history, which include both discrimination in hiring on state boards and commissions, as well as the negative effects of discriminatory policy created by those same state entities. By supporting the 2022 UMA today, which, among other things, requires state boards and commissions with volunteer members to be more inclusive of people like me, you help incentivize, ensure, and enforce upward mobility and thereby directly confront lingering racial inequity in state employment and policy. Very importantly, by supporting the 2022 UMA today, you have a chance to do something particularly special and necessary, indeed historic and long overdue. You have a chance to move California toward being the first state in the nation to require data collected and used by state agencies to be disaggregated by lineage for different Black or African American subgroups, similar to what we do now for our AAPI brothers and sisters. African Americans like me, those of us whose ancestors built this country, who came here not by choice, but in chains, who were forced to work, never paid, and turned loose with nothing, we are a unique group of Americans. And better, more clear data on the different needs of the African American U.S. slavery descendant community means better policy. Not only will this be an important and historic improvement in the way we collect data on and for California's black communities, not only will it provide clarity and direction to state efforts toward inclusive state boards and commissions, not only will it provide critical information to the California Reparations Task Force, which is right now poised to decide the question of eligibility for reparations. The California Reparations Task Force needs this information in order to make reparations a reality for Californians who descend from persons enslaved in these United States like myself. Today, I urge your support for the 2022 UMA. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to primary witnesses and support on the phone. Operator?
Thank you. Please, pardon me, if you have support, please press 10 at this time. And we'll go to line of 20. Give me a second here. Go to line 20. Please go ahead.
Good morning. This is Jonathan Go with the National Association of Social Workers, California chapter, calling in strong support of AB 1604. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to line 13. Please go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Tiffany Quarles, and I'm with the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, and I ask that you please vote yes on AB 1604. Thank you.
Next, we've got line 17.
Good morning. My name is Chad Brown. I'm with Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, and I'm urging you to vote yes on AB 1604 today. Thank you.
Next, line 15.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. My name is Kansa Jones Muhammad. I'm calling on behalf of the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants in Los Angeles and the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California in support of the disaggregation language in AB 1604. Thank you.
Line 25, your line is open.
Hi, my name is Camila Moore. I'm calling as an individual. I'm also the chairperson of the California Reparations Task Force, and I'm calling in support of AB 1604. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll go to line 26.
Good morning. My name is Marcus Champion with the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California and the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants Los Angeles, and I am in strong support of AB 1604.
And our last one here was line 14.
Good morning. My name is Josiah Williams from the American Redress Coalition of California and the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California in strong support of AB 1604. Please vote yes. Thank you.
And none further at this time?
Thank you. Is there another primary witness on the phone?
Yes.
Please proceed.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, good morning. My name is Emmanuel Amanfor. I'm the Director of Legislative Outreach for the Coalition of Black Employees. The Upward Mobility Act of 2022, also known as AB 1604, is a progressive step to effect policy reforms, greater accountability, training, and transparency. We, the Coalition of Black Employees, are advocating for racial equity and justice statewide. We're millennials, Generation Xers, and baby boomers with individual years of experience ranging from 2 to 30 years as civil servants. California doesn't succeed in spite of our diversity. Our state succeeds because of it. I'm deeply committed to building an administration that reflects California's diversity, and it's a goal I hope to advance at every level of state government. This is a quote from Governor Gavin Newsom. This is the time to align our words and take the required actions. We must demonstrate an intentional focus to reduce disparities in opportunities, experiences, and outcomes for all residents representing the diversity of California. Leaders should express a commitment to address historical and current manifestations of social bias and exclusion, including the ways in which social arrangements disadvantages some groups and legitimate others. California has shown itself to be the leader of national change by establishing the task force to study and develop reparation proposals for people of African descent and a public health pioneer during the pandemic. California is the most conscientious state in the country with progressive social justice standards. The Coalition of Black Employees has supported and represented AB 1604 through its entire journey. We are mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, voters, and leaders in the state of California. The Coalition of Black Employees humbly thank you for the opportunity to share our voices in support of signing AB 1604. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to other witnesses in support in the room. Please come forward and state your name, organization, if any, and position only. Okay, seeing none, we'll move to other witnesses in support on the phone. Oh, we have one.
John Lovell on behalf of the California College and University Police Chiefs Association and the California Correctional Supervisors Organization in support.
Thank you, Mr. Lovell. Any other witnesses?
Yes, good morning. My name is Darlene Crumity, and I am a member of the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, and I urge you today to vote yes on AB 1604. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kim Mims. I'm with a Coalition for a Just and Equitable California and Amend the Mass Media, and I urge you to vote yes on AB 1604. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other witnesses in the room, we're going to move on to witnesses in opposition of this measure. Primary witnesses in the room in opposition to this bill? I see none. Primary witnesses on the phone in opposition to this bill? Operator?
Thank you. And if so, please press 10. Again, it's 10 to express opposition. Currently none in queue.
Okay, thank you. Move on to other witnesses in opposition in the room. Seeing none. Another opposition on the phone. So we've received all testimony. We're going to bring it back to the committee for questions or comments from the members. Any questions or comments?
I move the bill.
Second.
Thank you very much,
Mr.
Holden.
I see Mr. Donald has joined us. Question for the author.
Yes, sir.
I know you mentioned that right now it's just for volunteer committees only. It will
Correct.
be applicable to.
That's all that's all it can be. We've gotten a legal opinion that says that as long as it's from Ledge Council, that it's volunteers and not salaried or paid employees, that it does not cross the 209 issue and become an issue for the state. So volunteers can serve.
So we've done it for outside organizations, for businesses.
Yes.
This is applicable, but not to state employees or boards.
Correct. This is our attempt to also do the same.
Correct. But right now it does apply to
That's correct.
the private industry, just not state government.
You're absolutely correct.
Ironic. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. No other questions? We have a motion on the floor, a first and a second. Seeing and hearing none, Assemblymember, would you like to close?
I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. The bill's been moved by Assemblymember Cooley, seconded by, I believe, Ms. Calderon. Secretary, please call the roll.
Item number 3, AB 1604. The motion is due pass and be re-referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Cooper.
Aye.
Cooper, aye. Vopel. Not voting. Vopel, not voting. Calderon. Aye. Calderon, aye. Cooley.
Aye.
Cooley, aye. O'Donnell. Aye. O'Donnell, aye. Lackey. This bill will be put on call 4-0.
Okay, the bill's on call. Thank you.